Welcome to round 3 of the Arcane Series cEDH tournament. Players are getting underway. They are beginning to resolve their mulligans. They are getting themselves all situated and ready to begin here for this match. There are 5 rounds in today's event, and after that 5th round, then we will go right into the top 4 players of the match. It is still anybody's game. It is open for anyone to come in and swoop in and take the crown. This pod is going to be an interesting pod. It looks like we got a Yuriko. Looks like we've got Kadama, Kinnan. Not sure what biscuit is on quite yet. If you have not already done so, please give us a follow on our various social media networks. You can find us at Combat Step MTG on Instagram, Facebook, and Threads. And you can find us as just Combat Step on YouTube, Twitter X, and Twitch. Give us a follow, subscribe. In between matches, feel free to check out some of our YouTube content, go do our soul. Playing in these events is a great way to get out and meet community members, have a great time, especially if you're someone like me and we don't have a way of playing in person. I do not have a LGS that's close. And the closest one, which is quite a distance away, doesn't even have a cEDH community. So this online play and online tournaments is a great way to play when you do not have that, or if it happens to be on a night where you don't have anything going on at your LGS, hop online. It's a great thing. We have many anti-cheating measures in place. We have had a great record. All of our participants have had just a fun time. And we really do appreciate all of the support that our players bring. I'm super stoked to see some of these commanders. I have not seen a Gilanra Caller of the Wirewood before. I love Yuriko. Kinnan and Yuriko are my 2 favorite decks. I personally have both of them. And then we have Aesi. Interesting. I have not seen a Aesi deck before that is powered up. I've seen the precon. And the precon can be pretty disgusting, so I'm certainly curious to see what a powered-up version of it can do. Landfall shenanigans, here we come. Gonna be a tyrant for sure. I am sure they're going to be just amazing plays that we are not expecting with various landfall shenanigans. Looks like Aesi is off to a turn 1 land and a mana crypt and a jewel lotus. This is a very powerful start for Aesi. We are likely to see a turn 1 commander, and there it is, turn 1 Aesi. That is a great position for them. That is exactly where they want to be. Oh, and we get a Mindbreak Trap on the Aesi. That's a real feel bad to dump all that mana into it and then have it countered by a Mindbreak Trap. I don't blame the Yuriko player whatsoever for doing that. A turn 1 Aesi is just absolutely scary. That would have been very much a tyrant, just like the name says. Yuriko is here going into a fetch land, and then of course dropping one of their little dorks. Exactly what Yuriko wants to do is a dork and a mana rock, so that they are able to then next turn deploy that Yuriko, swing into somebody, make that connection, and do the thing where they start flipping cards and hitting the entire table and their opponents. The table is definitely going to have to work together here, get out some blockers so that Yuriko doesn't just run away and steamroll everybody. We've got seat 3 here is deploying one of their commanders. It looks like they're deploying their second commander and passing it on over to Kinnan. Kinnan is deploying a mana dork of their own, getting set up here for next turn, getting that mana. We're back on over to seat 1 here, passing the turn. They're going to roll for Crypt. Are the odds in their favor? It looks like they are safe. No damage there. That would have been a real feel bad to lose all that mana and then a damage. Casting a creature, playing a land, and they are passing the turn. Here we go to the Yuriko player here, top of that turn. They are set up to have the mana to deploy a Yuriko, swing into somebody, and start just pounding the table. We are seeing the Yuriko deployed as expected. However, it looks like it's just being hard cast and not ninjutsu'd in, which is interesting that they are not going to attack with the Yuriko being ninjutsu in, but they are still going to go to attack and get the Yuriko trigger, leaving it back as a potential blocker. Not a bad move on their part. That tells you right there that the Yuriko player doesn't have a ton of things to do. If they are go ahead and deploying the hard cast of Yuriko, they're getting a submerge off the top of their library, which is a great hit from the get-go. And then now they have that submerge in their hand, which they are able to cast because someone controls a forest and they control an island. We've got an invasion of Ikoria and the Llanowar elves being deployed over here on seat 3, the Kadama player. Invasion of Ikoria is going to go tutor up a creature. Not a very big creature. And then the defender of that is going to be Yuriko. Probably an okay person to have that. They're not likely to really interact with it or bother it. So Yuriko is probably an okay person to have to defend that. It's going to make them decide whether or not they're going to let people swing into it and have it flip. And then we're on over here to the Kinnan player who just continues to dump mana on their field, which is typical of a Kinnan deck. Kinnan is going to ramp hard. Seat 4, seat 3 here grabbed their Priest of Titania, which is going to give them some decent advantage here. We're passing the turn on over to the top of the turn here to seat number 1, the Aesi player who has a couple dorks or mana available to them. And they're just going to keep deploying some little creatures. Those are great for blocking, and they also help to set up things in the future. Looks like that's a Lotus Cobra and then an Augur, which is great for Aesi down the road, especially as they get those landfall shenanigans underway. Got a land, now everybody's got forest. Yavimaya for everybody. We're going to crop rot that Yavimaya out of here. They're going to go grab likely some utility land, possibly a Gaia's Cradle. Yep, Gaia's Cradle it is, which is good for them. That's going to give them some advantage here and hopefully get back in this game as they attempted to deploy their commander turn 1 and had that countered. That's such a setback when you have an expensive commander. The game is developing very quick. We have 2 potential big threats on the field. We have our Yuriko player that's set up to do some decent amount of damage. We also have Kinnan that's got enough mana to be able to start doing the Kinnan shenanigan. And once Kinnan gets going, it can be pretty brutal for the game. Only a couple creatures need to hit the field from the Kinnan player, and then we are able to start advancing the game quicker than people can interact with us. Grabbing it in the Shaya here for the Aesi player. Shaya is another nice piece. All right, we are continuing this turn here. We have redeployed our Aesi, which they are set up. We know they have the Ashaya in hand. The Aesi is going to be set up in a great position. They are very much poised to continue to do some very powerful things. Both Simic players here, notably, are in a great position. Passing it on over to Yuriko here. Are we going to see the Yuriko do an attack? There's not a ton of great ways to get a Yuriko attack through. We've got blockers from everybody, especially the Aesi player. They're likely not going to swing in there. That doesn't make a ton of sense for them to do that. Yuriko might go in at the seat 3 player here where they've got some dorks to block with, see if they want to risk losing those dorks knowing they have the Priest of Titania. But they're likely not want to trade those dorks. Yuriko is deploying one of the newer cards. This card allows it to fly, and they can keep redeploying and giving it counters. The Genius Creature is one of our newer cards that we got recently out of, I believe it's Murders of Karlov Manor, slowly finding its way into our Yuriko decks. It's a great little 1-drop. Believe it is Ingenious Prodigy, I believe, is that creature. And then it looks like we're shipping the turn on over to our seat 3 player Kodama here. Pulling a nice creature. It is going to come in and it is going to hit another creature, getting one of those creatures off the Aesi player. Although that creature that they just killed may have already done the thing that it needed to do, but you definitely want to remove some of the stuff over there and minimize the threats. And the Augur is also a great move. You do not want that card to stay around for super long. Given the fact they have a Gaia's Cradle out, anything you can do to take them off some of their mana is certainly a good thing. Once they start the landfall shenanigans with Aesi, it's going to be very powerful. And if they already have multiple creatures on the field, that Gaia's Cradle is just going to be a power to be reckoned with. Hitting Kinnan as well with that, which is great. That's going to set Kinnan back a little bit, as they are now going to have to spend most of their mana to recast Kinnan and then take a turn off before they're able to really start redeveloping. Kinnan could be in a good position still with that happening, especially if they deploy a mana rock or two on top of it, but they don't have very many cards in hand. So Kinnan may just have to play the mid-range game here, play it slow and steady, and see who wins the race. And they are going to redeploy their Kinnan. They'll be set up in a great position next turn with some of that mana. And they're going to drop a Spellskite, and showing that they are now sitting at no cards in hand, which is not a bad place for Kinnan to be in, given that they could do some Kinnan activations next turn and begin ripping cards off the top, making it seem like perhaps you're not as much of a threat as you really are because you don't have interaction, and hopefully people will leave you alone as a Kinnan player now for a turn or two. That's what you really want as a Kinnan player. Let people leave you alone and fight over the other things, and then all of a sudden drop some big bombs on the table. The Spellskite is going to be super helpful to protect your Kinnan. Aesi is hitting some land drops and starting to do the landfall ability, being able to draw a card when that comes in. Card draw to a commander is super helpful. And then there's the Ashaya that we knew they had. That is going to make all of their creatures lands and also be able to tap for mana, but combos very well with Aesi as well. Because notably, you will play creatures, they enter in as a land, and they trigger Aesi's effect, which is just a nice piece of synergy there. You get to replace the card. It's not really card advantage, it's card replacement, but still lets you churn through your deck and draw cards, which mono green needs to be able to churn through and draw cards and get advantage, and Aesi and Ashaya will do that for you. And the table gets to fight another day, passing it on over to Yuriko. Yuriko is in a great position themselves as well with a flyer, with some cheap little attackers. We went for attacks, and then we're going to reveal a card, and we're going to get Wonder. Not a bad hit for Wonder. It stinks that Wonder is in their hand, not in the graveyard, but Wonder is going to be a good bomb to hit. Couple damage from Wonder is not bad for the table. It looks like we're going to sacrifice our creature there, get some mana, and deploy a Shieldred. That is an interesting card in Yuriko. I have not seen a Yuriko deck play that, but that can certainly give Yuriko some advantage and will be just annoying enough to the table that they're going to have to answer it. That will take some threats off of the ninjas and Yuriko themselves. Passing the turn on over here to seat 3. They are also set up in a pretty good position themselves with that priest out, getting themselves a Gaia's Cradle, which, yes, I do not blame, especially when you have that many creatures out. That seems like a fair trade. Go down one land, go up 4 or 5 mana. Looks like we're doing some calculations. We do have our Kodama hitting the field from seat 3. Doing some math here to see what they have going on. There's our own Ashaya being deployed on the Kadama player's side there. Ashaya in any green deck is super scary because it doesn't take much for Ashaya to go off, especially now that all of their creatures are lands. Any landfall and card draw shenanigans that come from that and deploying things for free can really put them ahead. Also a Collector, hitting the table. That is going to slow down the Kinnan player just slightly. Not really impacting the rest of the table significantly here, though. It is to turn off one of the artifacts that Yuriko has, turns off one artifact that Biscuit has, but really hurting the Kinnan player more than the other two players. Not super significant for themselves either in shutting off their own mana crypt. And then we swung into our invasion over there, did not block it, and it is now flipping into a big old baddie that is now able to block. It has a reach. We're passing the turn on over here to Kinnan. And then our Kinnan player is just simply going to ship the turn themselves. There's going to be an attempt to Otawara back to somebody's hand, one of the creatures. And it looks like we're talking about it being the Sheoldred. We don't want that Sheoldred to stick around for very long. Biscuit deploying an Immersion Zone as their land. And it looks like they're contemplating a Green Sun Zenith here. Gonna go grab a creature out of their deck. They could be grabbing the creature that allows them to. There it is, the Curian Ranger. And the Curian Ranger with the Shia is a pretty significant combo here, allowing the Curian Ranger to be bounced and redeployed, triggering Aesi. Let's see if the table has any responses. Curian Ranger and Shia is not something you want to see on the field. You are watching our players here perform some of our anti-cheating measures. After they cut their deck, one of the players picks a certain number of cards, and then they put those cards from the top onto the bottom of their library. This helps to prevent players from being able to stack their deck and helps us to make sure the integrity of our tournament is kept up with by hopefully getting rid of any possible cheating that could be taking place, making the event as fun as possible for everyone involved. Looks like the table is going around and doing a little bit of a discussion here on what they could do to potentially stop or interact with this Curian Ranger Ashaya combo here. Now we're going to Pongify from the Aesi player. Also tried to submerge as well. Looks like trying to bounce something, likely bouncing the Ashaya. Looks like we got the Spellskite out of the way with the Pongify. And then Kinnan here is going to attempt to tutor for a creature. Kinnan here could be tutoring for a Gilded Drake, perhaps going to attempt to steal something if they live to see another turn. And there it is, yep, Gilded Drake. If they live to see another turn, stealing one of the other creatures like the Ashaya might be relevant to preventing a win and securing their own slot. Turning all of the creatures that Kinnan has into mana dorks as well would be pretty significant for them. And that would shut off a lot of what the Aesi player is trying to do here. Of course, we're going to activate Kinnan there, getting the Gilded Drake. And we're going to return that creature to an owner's hand with an Unsubstantiate, which is a nice way to try to save themselves here. Yuriko's debating whether or not they want to do any kind of interaction. See some hand gesturing here. Definitely some politicking going on here. Maybe letting people know, hey, I can't, if I don't stop this here, I have interaction to back you up. Maybe trying to work together here to stop a threat, because Ashaya already is a threat on Biscuit's side, but then letting the Kinnan player have it is just not good for the table either. So which one of those two evils do you want to happen? That is the question you want to be asking the table here. Do we let the Gilded Drake go? Do we let Kinnan get the mana and do something else? And the answer is we're sawing in half. Getting rid of one of the Ashayas, maybe. We're stealing the Ashaya off the Kadama player and not the one from the Aesi player, which is an interesting move. Aesi was in a little bit more of a threat here, but then they are targeting and trying to save it themselves. We do have enough mana to... All right, extra turn here from Aesi. That's going to be pretty powerful with them being able to take an extra turn. With all of that mana and being able to draw cards is going to be interesting for them to see what kind of turn they have next. If the table really has no interaction for this, this may be a point in which Aesi pulls ahead and closes out the game. And it is resolving, and they're going to take an extra turn and see what happens here. They do roll from their crypt, and they are punished from it. The odds are not in their favor from their mana crypt, but the odds may be in their favor for that extra turn. They're going to play a land, and that's going to trigger their AC to draw a card. We knew they had the Ashaya, and of course they're going to redeploy the Ashaya, putting them back in the same position they were. When Ashaya enters, that does trigger, and they do draw a card. And then we're demonstrating the loop here where Curian Ranger, as it is a land itself. And that is a loop where they'll be able to draw through their deck. And I believe now they are just showing what the path to victory would be when they draw through their deck. It looks like it's a retreat to Corehelm, which is going to make them a bunch of creatures, I believe, is what retreat to Corehelm would allow them to do. It has the landfall ability, and then they're going to finale. So yeah, it seems like they are going to trigger a bunch of times the retreat to Corehelm, make a bunch of creatures, and then they're going to finale for a massive amount and punch everybody in the table. And then there you have it. The table did fight very hard to keep Aesi from winning. They bought themselves one extra turn, but unfortunately that one extra turn was countered by Aesi getting an extra turn as well. That was a great game from all four players shown. Please be sure to check us out on all the different social media networks. We are Combat Step MTG on Instagram, Facebook, and Threads, and then we're just Combat Step on YouTube, Twitter X, and Twitch. Be sure to check us out where we have weekly YouTube content being released, as well as we stream weekly on Twitch. Check us out every single month for our cEDH tournaments. Today's event was the first event run on a Sunday, as we experiment and see what works best. But we also do run events on Saturdays as well, and we cannot do this without the players and without your support, whether that's support through subscriptions through our channel or supporting our tournaments themselves. We do thank each player that participates. While we take a break, this is an excellent time to check out our socials and an excellent time for you to go watch some of our YouTube content, and we'll be back for round 4 in just a little bit.